Good evening and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening television news. We're broadcasting live and then we're available on demand. And we're available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple Television, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, and of course YouTube and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Monday, February 6, 2023. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Night.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ plus community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ plus news, you will see it and hear it.
Happening Out Television Network is a 501c3 nonprofit media platform in the television and radio models of PBS and NPR, but designed for our LGBTQ plus community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ plus media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 38 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ plus and broader community.
Well, let's begin by welcoming anchor Jamaal L. Starks. Jamaal is a rare Miami native, also known affectionately as Porcelain. As a spiritual wellness consultant, he is an active member of the yogi community through the first and only queer yoga club Miami. He is positioned as the vice president of Impulse Chapter Miami, a professional background boasting a 16-year aviation career that led him to oversee the flight operations of 2 major airlines and a 17-year HIV plus thriver. He's dedicated himself to lead by example that Black queer individuals are inherently worthy of living safe, healthy, and abundantly thriving lives without social conditioning. Welcome, Jamaal.
Thank you, Al. And also, I would like to invite everyone to Fit Safe Space at Holiday Park on Saturday at 10:30 a.m. It's one of the my little groups with Impulse, and also the Queer Yoga Club is now integrated with Impulse, and I am now also the VIV on the Men of Color Advisory Board for VIV Healthcare Southeast Region.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Let's welcome John Hayden. A journalist for 28 years, he now works for several outlets, including South Florida Gay News as a reporter and community editor, covering politics, entertainment, and local events directly impacting the LGBTQ plus community. John's interviewed everyone from presidents to Oscar winners and been on more red carpets than he can count. After attending 2 galas this past weekend, he's now girding his loins for Pride on the Drive with Thunderpuss, Pride of the Americas parade and party on Saturday, and Super Bowl parties on Sunday. And hey, who doesn't love a good loin girding? Say that 3 times fast. Welcome, John.
I'll do it 3 times fast. Thank you so very much. It was a fun weekend. We had a couple good causes thrilled to be with, and this next week is going to be interesting and possibly exhausting. So I'm glad to be here tonight. We move on and welcome anchor DJ Nena. She is the resident DJ for Lit Bar in Wilton Manors and military veteran from New Jersey. DJ Nena has a BM in commercial music technology and an MA in English in creative writing. She has been a local DJ and music producer for the LGBTQ community of South Florida for over 20 years. Good evening. Hey, Miss DJ.
That's what I'm talking about. And you know what? If you're looking forward to being exhausted this weekend, that means you need to make it out to Lit on Friday night for Retro Fridays. It's the best of 80s, 90s, and 2000s, including all the videos. We have recreated MTV, but it's NTV. So hope you guys come by and come see that. And Saturdays we're there too with an open format. And coming very soon, the Sunday after Super Bowl, we're doing Beach Bum Sundays at Lit. It's going to be a nice little reggae islandish party. You should feel like you went to the Bahamas and back after you've spent a day with us. All right.
Awesome. I'll be there.
So now let's go ahead and welcome anchor Dr. Tai Houser. He is an associate professor of English and humanities at Broward College. Additionally, he teaches for extended periods of time at international colleges in China, India, Spain, and Bolivia. Good evening, Senor Tai.
Good evening. I'm happy to be here with such a great group and Al. We are the reporters for Queer News Tonight, and this evening we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast, and here are the bullet points of the Queer News for today, Monday, February 6th, 2023.
Well, let's begin by queering up South Florida and Florida. Historic announcement as trans man is Aqua Foundation for Women's new executive director. In 2004, South Florida's Aqua Foundation for Women was started by a group of women who recognized the need for a nonprofit organization that focused on the needs of LBT women and was run by LBT women. Aqua was founded as a 501c3. One of the original founders was Robin Schwartz, and she said about the organization, quote, AFW provides scholarships and mentors to LBT women going to undergraduate or graduate schools. We also have a grants program that provides funding to other organizations, projects that benefit LBT women. In addition, we have Emerging Leaders Conference and TransCon, a conference for the transgender community. Aqua has many events, some for fundraising, others to build community, such as the annual Family Barbecue, end quote. But like most nonprofit organizations trying to survive the pandemic, the women of our LGBTQ plus community took a hard hit. Aqua survived, and now it looks like they are on the verge of a renaissance. Today, they have announced the appointment of a new executive director, Mateo A. Ventura Brewer. You heard that right. In historic news, the new Aqua director is a trans man, non-binary. I was able to speak to Mateo today on the historic news. Looks like Aqua is getting ready to roar back, and then your announcement comes. Tell us about why you wanted to do this, why you wanted to become the executive director of Aqua Foundation.
Well, I actually didn't set out to become the executive director of the Aqua Foundation. I was asked to join the board by Karen, the board chair, and really fell in love with the organization from participating in some of their events, from Aqua Fair, was really hearing from the scholars, was incredibly moving. And then as I got to know the organization more, the stars kind of aligned, and it became obvious that it was a perfect opportunity for myself and for Aqua.
Yeah. Also interesting to me, as I hear on the breaking news today of your appointment as executive director, you're a trans man for the Aqua Foundation for Women. That may not land on every ear in South Florida, right, exactly the way you hope. What do you think about what your next days and weeks and months are going to be in community?
I think it's a valid conversation, and definitely something that will come up and will, be an important conversation in a lot of ways around identity.
This is part of an extended conversation you'll hear on tonight's Queer News Tonight. Ventura Brewer will lead the Aqua Foundation for Women's mission to serve and support the lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and queer women's community in South Florida through grants, scholarships, and initiatives. Their annual grant program awards organizations in a variety of areas, including health and wellness, education and leadership, and community building. Aqua Foundation for Women provides scholarships to benefit students attending or entering college, and who are active in the South Florida LGBTQ plus community. They identify emerging leaders and help them develop and grow through their scholarship program. Board Chairman Karen Costello-Wilder said of the Mateo appointment, quote, "This is a historic opportunity to ensure the next steps for our community are a great success. Mateo will bring many skills to bring Aqua Foundation for Women to the next level," end quote. Aqua hosts some of the most important events in our community, including the upcoming 2-day TransCon. This educational event explores the needs of our trans community. Aqua Foundation is also known for Aqua Girl, which may return in 2024. More information can be found out about Aqua at aquafoundation.org, and the complete interview with the new executive director of Aqua Foundation will be at the end of tonight's news. Interesting, of course, it's going to garner a lot of attention of this appointment. It's an interesting challenge to me of the new needs in our LGBTQ community. The question is, do we live in our traditional boxes that we've lived in, or do we continue to be able to challenge beyond the parameters? I don't know what the answer to that question is yet. But it's going to be interesting. And there is no question that Aqua Foundation's value in community, if for no other reason, they're the only, I didn't even realize this until today's interview, they're the only 501c3 like this dedicated in the women's community in the entire state of Florida. Now, if you think about trans, if you think about people of color, if you think about LGBTQ broadly, we have dozens and dozens and dozens of organizations that are like that in all three of our major metropolitan communities, South Florida, Orlando, and Tampa, but not for women. And it's an indication, that mere fact indicates that the women in our community need great support to return women to a real important role in our community. And this conversation will, at least at the beginning, start that conversation.
It's going to be a big conversation as long as we're having it, right? I think that's the important part, because if we're not having the conversation, then someone else is going to take it. So I think to open up the box and to get things started will help us better understand the needs of the community and how especially Aqua wants to define itself. But Madeleine Albright famously said there's a special place in hell for women who don't support women. So we need Aqua.
You know, and one other note before we move on to John's story, I think regardless of what people think about the non-binary, he identifies as non-binary. Beyond that, I certainly welcome another trans voice in our community in leadership. The trans community has a difficult role. Trans is a focal point of the fight, certainly here in Florida. President Trump said last week, basically, if he becomes president of the United States, his intention is to ban all trans health care in America. All, not just children. All. And they're at the forefront of the fight, attack, culture war generation. So having strong trans voices in our community, I think, is exceptionally important.
And yeah, I don't really have a lot to comment on this story, but I do have questions about this story. I know a lot of people are going to be very upset that a man will be running it. And this is a question, and I don't know if this is the right question to ask or not, but I'm going to ask it. Would people still be upset in our communities? Would people still be upset if it was a trans woman who was stepping in to lead the organization? And I don't know, but I think it's worth, when we start to have this conversation. And what I'm most excited about is that there's going to be some controversy about this appointment, but that the people who are going to be included in it are going to be trans people and women. They will be talking about this issue as opposed to being talked to, as we have been so often from our government leaders, especially here in Florida. At least the right people are going to be included in what could be a heated conversation, but at least it's being had by the right people.
in relation to that, one of the things that I thought was also interesting, meeting him just for the first time today as he came in for this interview, because this is, as you know, at this moment, it is breaking news. His current role is with the South Florida, a very key role with the South Florida YWCA. So his principal role right now is working in terms of the support of women through that organization. So there's a lot of experience with it. It's just a question of how this will land. I opened the interview, which you just saw. This is going to land on many ears in many different ways. From my standpoint, I always think that that is good because it opens conversation. I know, there might be some fraying along the edges, but in general, I think the conversation is very good for our community.
All right. Well, we move on and we queer up entertainment. Beyoncé becomes the all-time Grammy winner, and then thanks the queer community for inventing the category of electronic dance. Beyoncé won Best Dance Electronic Music Album with Renaissance at the 2023 Grammys last night. She became the most awarded artist in Grammy history with a record 32 wins. She acknowledged the LGBTQ plus artists who inspired and directly contributed to Renaissance, saying, quote, "I'd like to thank the queer community for your love and for inventing the genre," end quote.
Breaking the record for the most Grammy wins of all time. Be upstanding and show your respect. It's Renaissance, Beyoncé.
The Grammys, and we're in a glut of award shows this time of year. The Grammys have always been my favorite because they're the least awardee show out there. They present like 9 or 10 categories over the course of 3 hours. And so it's really, it's like a concert with awards spread in it. And we're going to talk more about the performances in a moment. But first about Beyoncé. She has been such a leader and supporter of our community, dating all the way back to the 1990s. That was a whole other millennium. And she has just won and won and won and supported and supported and supported. She has, and not just the community, other queer artists going forward throughout her time. And she's one of those few people out that I have not gotten to interview. And my God, I would love to sit down with her. But when you're the Queen Bee, you don't do press.
It's funny. Last night, Donna even commented on this moment because she's in electronic dance. She wins she creates the record of the moment of that. Corden's soundbite today. Corden's soundbite is everywhere of him going, "History is made, the entire room knows." At that moment, Beyoncé has won the category without even saying a word about it. And I think it's super interesting, and this is what Madonna commented on, is that the connection of electronic dance as a category, which is really, Nena's a DJ. This is our community. If there was a single award for our community, it's electronic dance.
For sure.
And Beyoncé wins the all-time record at that. Corden's voice of saying this is the moment, and then her going up, and it was breathtaking for me, because to watch and her thank a gay family member. Family, family, family. I'm not thanking record labels. I'm not thinking about producers. I'm not thanking anyone else except the family. And I want to thank the queer community who invented this category. It is an embracement that is historic. It was so simple, right to the point, no big to-do, just boom, throws it right on the table. It was a breathtaking moment, I thought.
Okay. Fantastic.
All right. Well, let's queer up entertainment. The queer Grammys recap. If this year's Grammy Awards are anything to judge by, it's a good time to be a music gay. More than a dozen LGBTQ plus musicians, writers, and producers found themselves nominees for Grammys this year. The LGBTQ plus artists who earned Grammys nominations in 2023 are Big Freedia, Brandi Carlile, Brothers Osborne, Honey Dijon, Kaytranada, Kim Petras, Sam Smith, Lady Gaga, Perfume Genius, Randy Rainbow, along with rapper 070, Michael Jackson and Jaquel Spivey, Toby Marlowe and Lucy Moss, and Tony Kushner. Some of the most cherished moments of this year's Grammy are dedicated to the LGBTQ plus community. Sam Smith and Kim Petras won the award for Best Pop Duo Vocal Performance for Unholy. Kim Petras is the first transgender woman to win this award. Petras, who received a standing ovation during her speech, thanked the incredible transgender legends before her who kicked open doors for her, including Madonna and the late Grammy-nominated artist Sophie.
I'm going to pick up for you, Jamaal. Apart from Sam Smith and Kim Petras, other LGBTQ plus artists who won Grammy Awards include Brandi Carlile and Wet Leg. First thoughts?
First thoughts is piggybacking off of your comment about Beyoncé and that moment with her album being Renaissance, and it also tying in with the queer community. And this is a renaissance of the Grammys. We've never seen this much LGBTQ plus representation. Big shout out to Big Freedia for winning her first Grammy with the help of Beyoncé. It's just, I think we're living in a time that we've never seen before, especially in the spotlight amongst celebrities and Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. It's been long overdue.
I saw Randy Rainbow's tweet this morning. He was totally fangirling on his role last night as being part of it. He was, I love him anyway, but
yeah, he's great. He comes here to Fort Lauderdale once a year. I think he's perpetually touring. But one of the things that we can talk about is Sam and Kim Petras' moment.
For sure.
I mean, and that he gave her the spotlight. You know, he's the name. I mean, no offense to Kim, but you know, it's Sam Smith. They're the name. But he gives it to Kim and lets her come out and do the acceptance speech. And that was probably the most moving LGBT awards moment that I think I've ever seen since and it was at the Grammys, the mass wedding they did about 10 years ago now. Yeah. The Grammys have been supportive of us for a very long time, but that was just, it gave me the feels.
You know, it was interesting as I watched that moment. My respect for Sam Smith increased dramatically, far beyond music talent. Mm-hmm. And the reason is because I think it was very clear that he understood the significance of them winning that moment. He didn't know that they were going to win, and they were in a category, quite frankly, that virtually all, and I mean it, virtually any of the nominees could have won that category. Mm-hmm. And so it was not a guarantee at all for him. And for Petras to be there, for Sam Smith to say, this is the first trans woman ever to win this award, and it brings the room to a stop, to standing ovation, is an indication of what the music industry thinks about our community. And at that moment, I realized, of course, the political eye and political lens, the Recording Academy and the people in that room are drawing a distinction against Ron DeSantis at that moment. Sam Smith, who is a gay man, he's going to voice support. The room is not, while significant, it's not an LGBT room, it's an ally room. And it brings an instantaneous standing ovation of support of Kim Petras and the achievement that Petras does, singing a song, Unholy. And when they perform later, Noah makes the joke of being on the phone with his mother going, wait, what's going on in terms, is the devil really actually there? And those jokes and the importance of the song, it really is a very significant moment for the community, which I think for years to come, people are going to be paying attention. paying attention to. You thought as DJ.
You know, my thoughts as the DJ in the room, of course. I think the number one thing you can walk away from watching the Grammys last night, if you didn't watch it, I hope you recorded it, because the one thing that stood out more than anything was the word acceptance. Very welcoming. And what I actually really enjoyed was, instead of just wrangling the most famous person in the room to introduce the next artist of performance, they chose the biggest fans. And watching Brandi Carlile's wife and her 2 children introduce Brandi Carlile before she would, get that opportunity to perform her song was just another clear reminder that this is what all kinds of different types of families look like. Mm-hmm. So now you see it in the forefront, and by far best live vocal performance, I would have had to have given it to Brandi Carlile last night, for sure.
You thought Brandi Carlile was the best live performance?
The best vocal. Best live vocal performance.
Wow. And we have to take a moment to zero in on the hip hop.
Yes.
The 50th anniversary. Oh my gosh, what we watched was, I just couldn't believe it. I was watching with somebody who is not a hip hop fan at all, doesn't appreciate the genre, doesn't understand the music frequently, and I'm not saying that I do, but I kind of do. And
I don't believe you.
Well, it was funny, to that point, I went through 20 names. They walk out and start, and oh my God, and name after name after name, and I could do that. And he said, as we're going through it, wow, this is really, really good. And he's not a fan at all. So that's an indication. They hit a home run.
I was just happy to see Flavor Flav. Yes. That was the best thing, just to see him out.
And one last thing, if you haven't watched, make sure don't fast forward. If you've recorded it, don't fast forward. Or when you go back to watch it, don't fast forward through in memoriam. It was spectacular in terms of how they presented country music and then pop music. And then hip hop in People Lost, and the people that performed through it. It was as good as I've ever seen that segment done.
Agreed, 1000%.
Just incredible.
Let's go ahead and queer up drag culture. The old gays joined RuPaul's Drag Race pit crew. The preview for episode 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race season 15 is here, and it includes some fan-favorite internet gays. For this week's Maxi Challenge, the queens are asked to break into groups and form girl groups consisting of old women. When announcing the challenge, Mama Ru calls upon the pit crew to enter the workroom. But instead of Bruno Alcantara, Calixto Kwan, and Bryce Eilenberg walking in, we get the internet sensations and 2022 out of 100 cover stars, the Old Gays, walking in wearing nothing but pink Speedos. The Old Gays are a group of 4 gay social media personalities and LGBTQ plus rights activists with over 6.9 million followers on TikTok and a docuseries in the works. They were an immediate hit, particularly among the young viewers who had rarely heard from their LGBTQ plus forebears. You can watch the full sneak peek of the Old Friends Gold online. Apart from this, the preview shows the queens listening to all of the songs that are available to them and breaking into groups. While one group chooses the hip-hop song, 2 groups go with the heavy metal genre, and there comes workroom drama. I'm very excited about this because, as you all know, every Friday night at Lit Bar, if you haven't been, we air RuPaul's Drag Race from 8 to 9 p.m. live. And then, of course, we follow up with My Party because we love a good Retro Friday and a good throwback. And this is just the best compliment to a throwback. The old gays are here.
They're not just here.
They're everywhere. I really do. I missed that.
Yeah, I like that. So I'm going to take a different view from this. I like that it promotes our older, like you said, our older people, because we don't, we aren't listened to a lot of times once we get older, or so I'm told. I'll find out one day.
You all by yourself.
But no, to come in and just highlight gays of a certain age, I think it sends the right message. And like you said in the story, it's exposing them, especially even without the Speedos, it's exposing them to an older generation, a new generation to the younger. And hopefully, RuPaul will continue to sort of be that through line that helps keep us connected.
I love that he keeps pushing the needle. That's a great way to do it.
All right. Well, next we will queer up politics. Club Q hero to attend Biden's State of the Union address. Congressman Jason Crow will welcome Richard M. Fierro, an Army veteran who helped disarm the suspect of a shooting in a gay nightclub in Colorado Springs, as his guest to President Biden's second State of the Union address. Fierro served in Iraq and Afghanistan and is a two-time Bronze Star recipient. He has been recognized for his quick action and heroic efforts that saved the lives of nightclub people at the Club Q shooting. Richard M. Fierro was at a table in Club Q with his wife, daughter, and friends on Saturday watching a drag show when the sudden flash of gunfire ripped across the nightclub, and instincts forged during 4 combat deployments instantly kicked in for him. Fighting back, he told himself, "Protect your people." The statement from Crow's office offers condolences, and someone's going to have to pick it up.
Condolences to the family of those who died in the attack, saying, quote, "Our state and nation continue to mourn the loss of the 10 Coloradans who were killed," end quote. After helping pass the first comprehensive gun safety reform package in nearly 30 years, Crow continues to call for a nationwide assault weapons ban. This includes additional measures that would help save lives and prevent deadly weapons from falling into dangerous hands. So, interesting in terms of participating in the State of the Union. We'll watch tomorrow in the State of the Union. I'm always a little bit wary on situations like this, that they're being used and different people are being used for political ways, either on one side or the other. I hope that's not what the situation here is with the congressman that's doing the invitation, because it moves the message to an anti-gun message, or to a pro-religion message, or an anti-LGBT message, or it can be in various different ways. And I personally don't like it when it's used against us, and I don't really think that we should do that for supporting. So we'll watch and see, and I hope that this is a positive experience and great honor for him, which is certainly the point of value. But the State of the Union, as long as the participation is to participate in the observance of the State of the Union, I think it's desirable. But if it becomes a political moment, I'm not quite as, I don't think that that's a good thing to do.
I think I'd just like to make sure that he gets some FaceTime with Marjorie Taylor Greene so that they can have a nice conversation.
Even more so because of Colorado Springs, Boebert.
Oh, yes, that's right, Boebert, yeah.
Well, and the question is, will he be acknowledged during the speech? Obviously the writers and the Oval Office look at, and I know it's not the president's guest, but they look at who's going to be in the gallery, and he could at the last minute acknowledge him, which of course elevates it to a whole nother level and possibly endangers the thing. And you don't like it when I turn to, like, I take every mass shooting and turn it into a gun message. But let's not forget, next Tuesday is going to be February 14th, and it's going to be the 5th anniversary of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. And I know Manuel Oliver, who was the father of one of the victims, has worked very hard to change the ref. He's been an incredible LGBTQ ally along the way. So while we're remembering Colorado, and we should, absolutely, here at home in our backyard, we're coming up on a very somber anniversary as well.
Excellent point.
I would have to agree with both of you. I especially agree with, if you're going to give that gentleman any type of FaceTime, don't expose it in the way to, advocate for a gun message. Instead, highlight the veteran. I'm a military veteran. you know. So if it was me, I would just, you know, it's fine to say thank you. And it's easier for someone like me as a veteran to say, still doing my job, because that's what we're trained to do. Just because we leave, it doesn't mean that we're done. We're always here.
And at the end of the day, the most important thing that I think we learned in Colorado Springs, we've talked about this here, I've repeated it a number of times, as opposed to what happened at Pulse, his involvement, perhaps his military training and experience, to the point of being a veteran, as you point out, he took action. He moves toward the event. We've had 2 incidents since where lives were saved because of moving to the government, to the gunman. And that's not to say anybody is making a right or wrong decision, but in 3 incidents now, over the last 3 months, lives have been saved because it wasn't a turn and run. Somebody made the decision, or multiple made the decision to engage the shooter. And as a result, the outcome was different than what it could have been.
True.
Well, we continue on in Queer Up politics. Santos' secret recording says he fucked up by lying to everyone. A journalist has released recent recordings in which gay representative George Santos of New York admits that he fucked up by lying to voters and his own congressional staff about his personal history. The journalist, Derek Myers, secretly recorded the January 30 conversation after briefly working for Santos on a volunteer basis. In the recording, Santos revealed to Myers that he wouldn't be hired for a full-time position on Santos' staff because of Myers' past legal troubles. According to Talking Points memo, Santos can be heard saying in the recording, quote, "I've made bad judgment calls, and I'm reaping the consequences of those bad judgment calls," end quote. In the recording, Santos told Myers it's bad enough that he has to answer for his own mistakes, and he does not want to answer for Myers' mistakes as well. Myers told Talking Points memo that he found it hypocritical for Santos to hold the charges against him, seeing as Santos has already been widely condemned for faking large parts of his personal and work history. Santos also joked about the possibility of Myers secretly recording the conversation in the recording. Myers said he wanted to share the recording now because it shines a light on Santos and his office.
Looking back into your background, just looking up your resume, I went off face value. That's how I am. I judge people on face value. If I like you, like in my life, people have earned my trust. You by default have my trust, and you lose my trust versus earning my trust. Like everybody, I trust this guy with everything, and I've obviously fucked up and lied to him, like I lied to everyone else, and he still forgave me and gave me a second shot, unlike some other people, right? So I trust him tenfold more. So I trust.
You know, I'm not sure where I come down on this story. Obviously, I'm pro-journalism. I'm not a fan of recording secret conversations for job gain or job blackmail when this guy was trying to work for him. So I'm very mixed on this, but it's on brand for George Santos, right? You know, he has lied about so many things. I'm just very conflicted over this.
But how else do you catch a liar?
But they're both wrong.
Right.
Both.
How else do you catch a liar? This man is elected to the office and he lied about his military past. Are we kidding me right now? Like, roast him over the fire, please. In any way, shape, form, or possible, because I'm tired of liars. We got Ron DeSantis liar. We got the other senator here that's a liar. All of them are liars, so please expose them in any way, shape, form possible.
Agreed.
I think they're treating him with kid gloves at the national level, and I think that's unfortunate. Like,
who, congressman or the reporter that did the
congressman?
Okay.
The congressman.
Well, I think because nobody takes him seriously at this point. He's going to be a one and done. He'll probably be, if he serves his full thing, he'll probably lose in his primary next year. So, I mean, I don't think people are taking him seriously because he's not senior. He doesn't have any real committee assignments if he ever were to serve on the committees. So I don't know, he's not a real player. He's one of 435.
But that is also still taking away space, time, and position from somebody who's actually qualified to sit in that seat. Like, I really don't, like, we can't just brush past this like he's just, oh, he'll be one and done. No, boo, you are taking up time, which we do not have time right now.
You know, I would
Agreed.
say that referring to a congressman as boo would be inappropriate. But the drag queen from Rio, boo.
Have you seen the memes?
I have not.
They're the best memes of the year. Miss Liza-Lot in his Katara outfit. Sorry. That and Mental.
Next, we are proud of our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church here in Fort Lauderdale. Supporting that partnership, we are broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine Cathedral at the Happening Out television studios. We broadcast Sunshine Cathedral Sunday International Service at 10:30 a.m. every week.
I'm Glenn Weinzimmer, founder of the Smart Ride, second largest AIDS bicycle ride in the country, and Sunshine Cathedral is my queer church.
Well, Fox News and Tucker Carlson and radical conservatives has suggested the LGBTQ plus community has a secret plan, and we can only guess it is for world domination. We couldn't agree more, and we are going to tell you all about it in our segment called The Gay Agenda.
In the Gay Agenda, we queer up religion. Pope, Anglican, and Presbyterian leaders denounce anti-gay laws. Pope Francis, the head of the Anglican Communion, and the top Presbyterian minister together denounced the criminalization of homosexuality and said gay people should be welcomed by their churches. The three Christian leaders spoke on LGBTQ plus rights during an unprecedented joint airborne news conference Sunday while returning home from South Sudan, where they took part in a 3-day pilgrimage to try to nudge forward the young country's peace process. Recently, the Church of England has decided to allow blessings for same-sex civil marriages, but said same-sex couples could not marry in its churches. The Vatican forbids both gay marriage and blessings for same-sex unions.
In the Gay Agenda, we queer up drag culture. RuPaul's Drag Race Tyra Sanchez announces official comeback tour. James Ross, otherwise known as RuPaul's Drag Race Season 2 winner Tyra Sanchez, is dipping back into drag through rebranding of King Tyra. This return to drag has been in the works for months and has now culminated in a full North American tour. Tyra will hit the road with a tour titled Club Tyra, which includes dates from Washington, D.C. to Atlanta, Georgia. Tyra announced the tour with an Instagram post. Longtime fans of Tyra are excited about this comeback and can't wait to see their favorite queen back on tour.
In the Gay Agenda, we queer up lesbian culture. Kris Jenner officiates Ellen DeGeneres' and Portia wedding vows. Portia de Rossi surprised Ellen DeGeneres with vow renewals at a party at their Los Angeles area home Tuesday for de Rossi's 50th birthday. De Rossi changed into the gown she wore for their original ceremony, handed flowers to DeGeneres, and led her to Kris Jenner, who officiated the renewal. Brandi Carlile was also present during this celebration, where she sang "The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face" to the couple. Jenner described the couple as a match made in heaven, two peas in a pod. After this pleasant surprise from her wife, Ellen said, quote, "I just adore you. I love you, and I would not be on this earth without you. You save me every day. I'm the lucky one," end quote.
Next in the Gay Agenda, we queer up gay culture. A life well lived. Charles Silverstein, author of The Joy of Gay Sex, dies. Dr. Charles Silverstein recently died at the age of 87. best known for making the presentation before the American Psychiatric Association in 1973 that led to the removal of homosexuality from the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual's list of mental illnesses. Silverstein's book, The Joy of Gay Sex, was first published in 1977. It was a first-of-its-kind guidebook for every aspect of the gay experience. In his 2011 memoir, For the Ferryman, Silverstein writes that it was at that moment when he had sex with a guy for the first time, he decided to dedicate his life to fighting for the acceptance of gay people.
In the gay agenda, we queer up South Florida and Florida. A gay couple runs the #3 ranked eatery in America, and it's right here in Fort Lauderdale. A beloved beachside bake shop, Archibald's Village Bakery in Fort Lauderdale's North Beach Village, has been ranked #3 in Yelp's 2023 rankings of the top 100 places to eat in the U.S. A gay couple runs this bakery. Archibald's Village Bakery sources its roasts locally from Blooming Bean up in Pompano Beach and bakes its breads on the premises, including crusty demi-baguettes, pillowy focaccia loaves, and its signature pastry, the Morning Glory Loaf. The owners, Kris Archibald and his husband Justin, said another bakery is expected to open sometime this year or next in Fort Lauderdale's Victoria Park neighborhood.
Well, that is today's news for the LGBTQ+ community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ+ evening news show.
If our community is important to you, share the news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience, watching this live LGBTQ+ news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ+ digital television show in the world that is out of the closets and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ+ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ+ reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including Jamaal L. Starks, John Hayden, DJ Nena, and Dr. Tai Houser. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. But before we end our show, we would like to show you the full interview with the new executive director of the Aqua Foundation for Women. Well, Mateo, your first interview as executive director at the Aqua Foundation for Women. This must be a very exciting moment for you.
It is.
It caught me by surprise. I think Aqua Foundation is iconic in South Florida. As we reported, started in 2004. They have done so much in the community for women, for students, for the trans community, in so many ways. And they've gone through this process over the last couple of years where our 501c3s have been like everyone else, just hit right between the eyes. And it feels like Aqua is getting ready to roar back. And then your announcement comes. Tell us about why you wanted to do this, why you wanted to become the executive director of Aqua Foundation.
Well, I actually didn't set out to become the executive director of the Aqua Foundation. I was asked to join the board by Karen, the board chair, and really fell in love with the organization from participating in some of their events, from Aqua Fair, was really hearing from the scholars, was incredibly moving. And then as I got to know the organization more, the stars kind of aligned, and it became obvious that it was a perfect opportunity for myself and for Aqua.
Yeah. Also interesting to me, as I hear on the breaking news today of your appointment as executive director, you're a trans man, for the Aqua Foundation for Women. That may not land on every ear in South Florida, right, exactly the way you hope. What do you think about what your next days and weeks and months are going to be in community?
I think it's a valid conversation and definitely something that will come up and will, be an important conversation in a lot of ways around identity. I do identify as a trans man, but also as non-binary. And I think gender is, for me, expansive. And I have definitely have a variety of lived experiences that I think are going to be valuable. And something we emphasize at Aqua is not exclusion. So our focus is, yes, on the women, the LGBTQ women of South Florida, but that's not a limitation. That's not to say that everyone is not welcome.
Yeah, well said. The governor's mansion in Tallahassee just bristled a little bit. I'm sure you know that, which is great. Some shaking up needs to be had. One of the big things that Aqua is involved in is scholarship and funding programs. Where does that set for you in terms of how Aqua's traditional role of trying to be mentoring and leadership development in the community? Where from the standpoint of your seat will Aqua go next on that?
Oh, I really think we're, just like, as you mentioned, coming out of the pandemic, which was a difficult time for all nonprofits, really. But we never stopped doing the work. We're really ready and poised to renew our dedication, our efforts to, we have a lot of exciting new partnerships coming up as far as all three of our pillars, including leadership and scholarship, especially thinking about our partnership with the YWCA and the Children's Trust of Miami. That is definitely a way we're going to be a leader not only to our scholars and playing that mentorship role, but a leader in the nonprofit community through that work.
Interesting. You know, I have the conversation frequently. You know, I'm in this class that my circle of friends always joke, oh, you're the gay, privileged, white gay guy. And we have that box pretty covered. We're A-okay. In that box. And when we talk about women in the community, much less talking about trans in the community, it seems like we've got a long way to go. And it's shocking. Aqua's been here since 2004. What do you want to see in terms of elevating the lesbian and women's point of view here in South Florida? Why is it important, and what do you want to accomplish?
I think it's important because of the point you just made. We are definitely known in South Florida. We have really strong queer communities, and sometimes the lesbian perspective or the queer women perspective might get a little drowned out, because there are, and that's there's also a few notable trans-led organizations, but again, it's a few. And the fact that we're the only LGBTQ women-focused organization in Florida is pretty surprising.
Yeah.
And I hope that we'll be able to amplify that voice and be a leader, hopefully inspiring new voices. We can't really have too many nonprofits that are working on these issues.
You know, that's a bullseye for me. It is shocking from my seat, as proud as the history and the historical nature of the Aqua Foundation of Women. It is shocking that it is almost by itself in the lane, that there's not dozens of organizations like Aqua Foundation, but there isn't. So it means you have a challenge ahead. And the challenge that you're going to take on, are you excited? You nervous? You scared? You petrified? What's the emotion?
I wouldn't say petrified, but excited, nervous, scared, but in a positive way. It's a challenge. It's going to be something, a personal challenge, professional challenge, but those are exciting, and I enjoy taking that on and seeing Aqua succeed.
Yeah, and I have every suspicion that I'm talking to you in February 2024, and we're going to look back and go, Wow, look at the success of the last year of the Aqua Foundation for Women. We're going to talk a lot more with you and in coming weeks and months. Somebody you've got to get to know here in South Florida, Mateo A. Ventura Brewer. Congratulations, the brand new breaking news executive director of the Aqua Foundation. Let me be the absolute first to wish you all of the luck. And the reason is Aqua and the women of our community are so vitally important, and the trans community are so vitally important to our community.
Thank you.
All right. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Lara are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBT